Which island? Day 2. The sun shone into Roma's closed eyes for a long time, and his stiff and numb muscles just told him to wake up, wake up, wake up. And now, he opened his eyes, slowly and awkwardly stood up, looked around and came to a horror. Without thinking for a while, Roman pushed the guys, with the words, "Wake up. Now. Wake up." The guys immediately jumped up with surprised faces and began to look around. What they saw shocked them. All their belongings were scattered around the camp, their backpacks were disarranged. And the food had been eaten as if it had been greedily consumed by an animal, tearing apart cans of stew, shish kebab containers and everything else. Without thinking long, Roman said, "All right, guys, let's grab what we got, get in the boat and get out of here. Max, come on, start the engine, and we'll do the rest." Max ran to the shore, which was about 30 meters from the camp, and the guys began to gather what was left untouched, or rather intact, after that night. Suddenly there was a shout. "Guys, come here. Hurry up!" Max shouted. After a couple of moments, all three of them rushed to the boat. "Somebody ruined the engine," Max said. "Yes, the motor looked as if it had been gnawed, broken, torn apart all night." "And where are the oars?" Ivan asked Ivan, surprised. "I don't know," Max answered with no less surprise. "And where did you leave them?" Roma asked. "I remember that the oars were in the boat. Why the hell would you take them to the camp? I am not an idiot. Maybe we didn't take them at all?" Kolya added. "How could we not take them? And how did we set sail from the pier? Probably by oars?" Maxim said sarcastically. "That was how the boys lost the opportunity to leave the island. It is a 3-kilometer swim to the nearest settlement, and they were left without food. After a small search of the camp we found the cell phones, or, to be more accurate, what was left of them, broken displays, hanging by the wires and some circuits. We had to get out of here somehow. It's not a small island, and we might run into some creature in the woods that could have done all this. I suggest to walk along the shore and have a look around. Maybe there are some tourists, who either stopped today or recently," Kolya suggested. "Agreed. Let's go all together. We must take means at hand to defend ourselves, flashlights if it gets dark, matches to make a fire or torches," Roma added. So the four boys walked along the island along the beach. It was not easy to walk, some rocks, some descents and ascents, some wetlands that had to be bypassed, but after a long walk, the guys saw 2 tents and then sped up. They were glad to have found them, glad they weren't alone on the damned island. Their joy was short-lived. After they reached the place, they were horrified. What they saw made their hearts go in their heels. There were 2 tents 10 meters in front of them, which were closed, but in each of them there were huge holes in the walls that faced the forest, as if some animal had simply torn its way out with sharp claws, not knowing how to leave its dwelling. As they came closer, the boys noticed that the sleeping bags inside were torn to shreds just as they had been. Only there was one unpleasantly creepy nuance that complemented and aggravated this terrible picture: the sleeping bags were bloody. A closer look around revealed dried blood on the rocks and on the tent. "Shit! What the hell?" "I do not want to perish on this island," said Nikolai. "What the hell is this?" Vanya added. "Maybe they still have a boat?" Max asked, who was not happy about the situation either. "Let's go faster to the shore," Roman said loudly. They raced to where a boat could be moored. Bingo! There it was. Max shouted. "Hooray! Let's get out of here," Nicholas added. They jumped into it and tried to start the engine. "It works!" shouted Max, whose cheerful countenance turned to disappointment. The boat began to fill with water. It was holy, and not just holy, but there was an imperceptible thin hole cut along the keel, as if it had been sawed with a bolt cutter. "Shit! Let's give it up. Let's keep going," Roman said with anger and frustration. "Where are we going?" "We are locked in here," Max asked. "We have not looked along the whole beach, have we? Maybe there is something more, we will find something." Our heroes continued along the shore, fearing that something might get the better of them. As the guys walked, the sun began to hide behind the clouds, and it rained a little. When they reached their side of the island, where they could see the camp about 100 meters away, they saw the boat pulling away. Someone rowing the oars was leaving the island. "Hey! Stop!" The guys all together started yelling and running toward the camp. "Stop, thief!" In foul language and all the obscene words they shouted. When he reached the camp, Max undressed to the waist, in spite of the drizzling rain, and with the words, "I'll get him," rushed swimming to catch up with the thief. The boatman stopped working with his oars and stood 50 meters away from the island. A black silhouette sat with his back to the boys, hunched over, staring into the bottom of the boat. When Max swam 25 meters, the silhouette stood to its full height. Max stopped and began shouting, "Get the boat back! Row it back!" The silhouette turned sharply. At the sight of it, Max's heart nearly stopped. Before him stood something of black color, with green cat-like lights instead of eyes, and where the mouth should be, there was a white hole filled with bladed teeth in several rows, like a shark's, only longer. It was smiling, and showing its tongue, with a black tail with spikes pointed at the end, visible behind it. The creature spread its arms as if a tiger were trying to leap at its prey, and from its fingers its claws protruded sharply, like Wolverine from X-Men, only there were 5 of them. It let out a heart-breaking roar and leapt into the water. Cutting across the lake's surface, you could see how swiftly it approached Max, who was in a stupor. "What are you up? Swim back!" shouted him his friends. Max came to his senses and with words. "Shit! What is this? Shit! Shit!" He began to swim back to shore. "Hurry up! It's near!" his friends shouted to him. It was only 10 meters to the island, and the creature was 5 meters away from Max. A few more strokes and he was finished. Then something landed not far to his head, and then another one to his right, near his leg. He saw the guys throwing stones. Suddenly Maxim felt an unpleasant sensation. The creature slashed at his leg with its claws, after which he turned to face the creature and began to think that he was finished. Looking into those vicious eyes, he realized that it was smiling happily. Maxim closed his eyes and prepared for death, as suddenly he heard some kind of bang and a wild screech. "Bingo! I got it!" shouted Roma. "Well, what are you up? Come on, swim faster!" shouted Kolya. In a moment Max was on the shore, and Roma was bragging about how he had hit the monster right in the head with a stone, after which the creature shrieked and went under the water. Then the four boys walked to the edge of the island and watched as the wind that had just risen carried their boat away, and with it went their hope of leaving this cursed place. In the water, they saw the head of the creature rise from under the water, 25 meters from the shore, utter something that sounded like laughter, and then fall back beneath the water. All four of them got goosebumps. They were very scared and terrified, for it was nighttime ahead.